Hi, my name is Christine Skelly, and today I'm going to be teaching you about how to grow loofah and then how to harvest the seeds. So this was my first year growing loofah in 2021. I didn't grow them from seeds, so can't really tell you about that process. Some people have said that they are slow germinators, but I'm going to try and do that this year and find out myself. I actually received these as seedlings from another gardening group. Someone generously had extra and they gave me some. So I put them in the ground with my cucumbers and I fertilized them with a fair amount of compost, gave them plenty of water, but they were looking really sad all the way through June. I thought they were maybe gonna die, so I was babying them a lot of the way, trying to make sure that they didn't get sunburnt in our hot Virginia June weather and our even more hellacious July weather. And then in July they started to pick up the pace and grow more vines. So I was very happy. They were not dead, but it was already late July and I did not have my first loofah. So I was kind of worried because here in Virginia in Zone 7A, we get our frost in October sometimes, but usually it's November 1st, the first weekend of November. So I was really hoping these would hurry along. But starting in August, I got my first little loofah. You can actually eat them when they're very small, but if they get any thicker than about an inch or so diameter, then they begin to get fibrous inside and you can't eat them. But if you do when they're small, you just cook it like a squash, like a summer squash. In August, they went absolutely crazy. They loved our hot weather here in Virginia, our almost 100-degree days, and they began to cover the front of my apartment building with leaves as big as your hand, or bigger, because I have small hands. But it was great. They were finally growing, and they produce a fruit that can be up to like 24 inches long. This is actually a pretty skinny one. The early ones usually are this thick. So I was very excited about it, that it was working. My loofah were growing, and I've been wanting to grow a loofah for 2 years, so it was a wonderful development that it was working. So not only can the fruits grow up to 24 inches in length, the vines themselves, you had better have a trellis, because they will grow 20 to 30 feet long, the vines. So when I'm doing my urban gardening over here with not very much yard at all, I wouldn't call it a yard per se, they would outgrow the trellis and then the vines would trail on the ground and then I would throw the vines on top. Throw the vines on top. That's what my August looked like. So then the vines climbed the house, and that was very fun. But they produced such large, beautiful yellow flowers that the bumblebees loved them, and the wasps, which are our friends, wasps are pollinators, they loved them, and everyone in the neighborhood actually loved them too. So by the time we got into September, I had at least a dozen to 16 loofah on the vines, and I was very excited because not only was it my first year and they actually produced loofah, but it was working. I was getting a lot. And so by the time I finished my grow in October and I was preparing for the frost, I was watching our weather very closely, I had about 18 loofah. So very successful from, I think, 2 plants. So it's an extremely prolific plant if you can get it to keep going. So there's 2 ways to harvest loofah though. You can either do it while they're green, which I tell you what is an experience. I don't actually recommend it. So you can do that, and people sometimes choose to do that when the frost is coming, and people will, they are not frost tolerant because they come from hot tropical climates, so they do not want to be frozen. So you can pick them while they're green, and but if you have lots of time in your season, then you let them dry on the vine like this. I picked all of my Luffa green, and then I dried all of them just with a regular fan. So very easy. Our humidity here in the southeast is very high in the summer and very low in the winter. So very low humidity plus a fan means these bad boys would take about 3 weeks to dry out each. So I could get about 4 or 5 in front of a fan. So when I first saw them drying, I thought, oh my gosh, they're molding, they're disgusting, I have screwed up my entire harvest. This is actually how it begins to look when it begins to dry all the way out, because there is a gooey, sticky sap kind of resin that seeps out of it. And when it dries, it then becomes this. And if you're lucky and you dry it all the way out, you can hear the seeds rattle because all the mucilage is gone. So I did 1 Luffa green, and all that mucilage was still in there. So it was like cutting up a cucumber, because it smells like cucumber inside, but it was filled with the consistency of boogers. And if that doesn't entice you enough, that Luffa actually had white seeds instead of black seeds. You're looking for white seeds. You're not looking for white seeds. Sorry. You're looking for black seeds because that means they have fully matured inside of the fruit and they have fully become mature and ready to be planted. So not only is this kind of like digging through boogers, it also has the possibility of not giving you viable seeds. And that's half of the point. So next we're going to be cracking one of these open and getting the seeds out. And now for the fun part. So this was probably one of my biggest Loofah. Saved it just for y'all. So what happens is first they grow really, really long, and then they get fat from one side of it, and then they will get fat all the way up the rest of it. So because this is thicker, this is one of my very early ones that had enough time to ripen all the way on the vine. So it looks pretty gross, but you can hear that it sounds hollow inside, as opposed to which has lots of goo still in it. Alright, here we go. What you're doing is you're going to crack the skin off, and there's some ridges that actually run all the way down the line. So they're kind of like bones, and it's hard to work around them. So you can just crunch. So it's like dead skin, very pleasant, but it's so much easier to take off this way. Oh my goodness, I can't even tell you. Now that is a beautiful Loofah, and it just spat all its seeds out. But that's what you want. You want it to come out so easy. Because when you are doing it with the wet method versus the dry method, you have to take a knife or a sharp implement and cut down the sides, and then you have to like peel it away as if you're peeling an orange, and then all the seeds are still stuck in there. So the seeds don't just come out, a lot of them just stay inside, and they're possibly not mature anyways. So doing the dry method really is a superior means of doing it, and so you can run these through the wash and maybe add a little bit of bleach if you want them to be white. But if you are okay with this natural tan, then it should be fine. You can just use it as a scrubby either on your body, just disinfect it by actually washing it with some soap. And you can even use it as a dish rag since it is called the dishcloth gourd. Thanks for watching my video, and I hope you guys learned a lot. Thanks.